I was literally asked just now on stream, Twitch TV/ShinKensou. Hi everybody, hi YouTube, hi stream, currently watching. Why I think jump cancels are lackluster in this game, why I think that there should be more, and all of the good stuff, right? So I'm gonna try to make this short and sweet, right? And I put this in my video before about what I think needs to be in the game, but I think doing a live demonstration probably makes more sense, right? I've been saying jump cancels in this game are weak for a multitude of reasons, right? They're only attached to 2 normals at the moment. And while these normals are important, I strongly believe it's not enough, right? Now, obviously 5k, close slash, right? Easy, right? It's very, very simple. Makes straightforward, makes perfect sense, right? These are good for combos, they're good for general baiting, if you will, right? However, there comes a point in the game where you kind of sort of can't do anything about a lot of situations. And I use Chip here in the situation because obviously he's one of my main characters other than Jacko, which we can talk about another time. Now, with that being said, generally speaking, right, you're not always going to hit someone with a counter hit move or a jump cancelable, whatever, or what have you, right? We use counter hit in this specific case because this is a very typical spot where everybody will burst, right? So, take a look. Psych burst, 1 hit, right? Most people would burst this automatically because they don't want to deal with what comes afterwards, right? Because Chip has a full combo he can do that'll corner carry you and do lots of damage because it's a counter hit starter, right? Makes sense, right? But since it's a predetermined outcome and you can't do anything about it, that sucks. And when you get into fighting characters like Happy Chaos, where you need to be able to stay on his ass, you can't, because you're not always going to approach with this normal or close slash. So why you need the jump cancels and why I think having more jump cancels in this game would be more beneficial is for situations like this, right? Where you hit them with the counter hit move, where you know that they're going to burst, use a jump cancelable normal to block their burst and continue punishing them, right? Instead of letting them get away scot-free. Now a character like Happy Chaos, if he gains neutral, you know, he's just going to start doing this, you know what I mean? And I think that's no bueno, right? Because let's say he bursts you, right? So, right, if Chaos bursts you, right, all that neutral space that's gained for him is good, right? And then he can do all this again. And I think that's not where you want to be, right? It's very obvious that most players, when they get bursted, where you want to be is not full screen neutral, especially against someone like Happy Chaos, Gold Lewis, characters that have moves that they can just throw at you afterwards, you know, like special moves or something like that, like drone, his gunshots. You don't want to deal with that, you know what I mean? And Happy Chaos in particular, even though they nerfed his zoning, it's still really good because, there we go, you can just activate the super. And it's like, all right, cool, now we can cool it here and boom, you know? And that could suck, you know? One of the things that's really annoying about fighting him in particular, and this isn't just all about Happy Chaos, but this is just a general statement here, right? When you're fighting him, sometimes if you don't have a life lead against him, it can be troublesome. You know what I mean? And if he has life lead against you, then he's pretty much in checkmate. And he can still bring it back because his zoning is really strong. And if he has meter, he can blow you up. If he doesn't have meter, it'll be a little bit harder for him, but he can still maintain the full screen pressure game, which can be very scary, right? So if you're adding more jump cancels into the game, which is what I've been proposing for quite some time, you open up more abilities to punish your opponent. You open up more ability to make your offense more varied. You can bait YRCs a little bit better. You're not constantly having to use like lights in order to bait, which lights require you to be in their face in order to get used, which is fine, but the lights don't have good enough recovery to always block certain things, so like a burst. Obviously, if it's delayed, you'll be able to block, etc., etc. But that's part of the problem. You know what I mean? Now, that being a problem depends on, you know, how you perceive the game. I can't tell you guys how to feel about these kinds of things in the game. I can only tell you what I think would be very beneficial towards not just me, but to the entire player base, right? So, lack of jump cancels make it so that, well, you just can't really do anything. You just have to accept that, well, you're just going to get bursted, and now you got to play full screen neutral against Happy Chaos. And this is a very important matchup to know how to fight, especially if he bursts you. So if you're not, well, you gotta accept that you're thrown out here and you have to play his game again. Now on the one front you can say, well, he won't have his burst. That's fine, but if he happens to hit you, he can potentially kill you. And it's not just in the chip matchup, it's in any matchup. You know what I mean? So adding more jump cancels lets you do exactly that. You know, so let's say for example, same ordeal, right? Let's say I thought that he wanted to yellow RC, you know? I can force that out of him. It's Roman cancel, right? Oops, got that Roman cancel. And you can bait that. Because if you try to just block normally in some cases, like some of the characters' moves are not as like fast in order to like let you block, so like a close slash or something like that. But the lights seem to be pretty much okay to let you like guard in these situations. And they have pushback of their own too, right? But just having more access to these kinds of things lets you call these things out. So otherwise, we're just kind of where we are now, where the burst is pretty much guaranteed, and that's, in my honest opinion, not very good for the game. Like, I think it does kind of suck that you have to just sit there and just hold an entire burst just because you can't do anything about it. But that doesn't mean other characters don't have good standing kicks and things like that. Not really close slash, but standing K to like help you kind of get into those scenarios where you can do a jump cancel. Namely, like, you know, I mean, Jacko and Chip, so both of them have really good 5Ks, but I think like Jacko's 5K is a bit better in that regard because of how she works with the minions, right? So yeah, it's pretty important. But you know, if you have meter, you can always bait the burst just fine, right? If it was counter hit. But it's just in the situations where you don't have meter, you know what I mean? Because you're not always gonna have meter. And let's say you happen to land a hit against this character, you know, you're gonna get bursted back, right? But otherwise, if you have the meter, you know, you can always do that and then get started. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, that's good if you have the meter, but like dual one Let's Rock, they hit you, you know, or you hit them and then they burst immediately. It's like you can't do anything about it. And I just think it would be nice to have them, again, jump cancels on specific normals. It doesn't have to be on all the normals, but like 1 or 2 more per character would be nice. Like maybe 6P or even dash cancels, you know? I asked for dash cancels for this season and they gave it to everybody now, which is good. I think they need to go another step forward with it, because like trying to get people to use this to like bait bursts is not as good either. But you know, I digress. So that's one thing that needs to be in the game. If it's not something that you want in the game, that's fine, not a big deal. I get it. It sucks for some people, because I get it, like you should have a way out. But I think people should be using their bursts a lot more smart. You know, it'll just change things up. You know what I mean? It's not gonna hurt the game. It's not gonna make the game any worse. It's just gonna make using your burst a little bit harder, knowing that that's the normal that they have. Because alternatively, right, you could just not burst. You know, if you get counter hit, you can just not burst and they can just drop, you know, their confirm. You know, so if you were getting comboed or whatever, and then they're like, all right, I decided to, you know, jump cancel and you bursted. But let's say you decided to hold on to your burst, right, and not burst on the counter hit and whatnot. Then they would just end up dropping their, you know what I'm saying? Then they're dropping their punish. So it's just another part of mind games is why I have suggested these things. You see what I mean? Now you can still block. You know what I mean? It's not guard after first hit and switch, right? You know, if you had to deal with just that situation while still being able to retain your burst and they guessed wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, again, you can already do this currently. So this isn't like I'm saying, yo, Rev 3. No, what I'm saying is this already exists in the game. You know, if you get counter hit, you don't have to burst at all. You can just wait. So yeah, there's not much else to it. This is a pretty straightforward concept. There's not too much else to really talk about here. So yeah, that's why I think that jump cancels and more jump cancels should be added. It may not happen in this current patch coming up in the winter, but maybe season 3 they might add these things, which I think would be a little too late personally, but I digress. We'll see. We'll just have to wait and see. But that is how I feel. Let me know how you guys feel about jump cancels in the comments below now that you got a live demonstration, and let's talk about it. And again, I'm not asking for Rev 3, okay? Anyway, catch you guys next video. Deuces.